When I was forced to propose to Claire, I saw his group chat. If she dares to mention marriage, I'll dump her immediately. I blinked my eyes, and my mood suddenly became joyful. Every ex-girlfriend of Claire's received a huge breakup fee when they broke up. I've been waiting for 3 years. Finally, it's going to be my turn. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. It was the 3rd year of my relationship with Claire. My mother suddenly called to urge me to get married. Joanna, when are you and Claire planning to get married? Claire has no intention of proposing to me at the moment. I frowned, feeling extremely annoyed. My mother persisted. If he doesn't propose, can't you take the initiative to propose? You're almost 28. What you should do is hurry up and marry Claire. For a girl, no matter how successful her career is, it's not as good as marrying a good husband. Back then, when I was sick, if it weren't for Claire finding a doctor to perform an operation on me, I might have died long ago. And your father's company, without Claire's help, would have gone bankrupt long ago. Claire is such a good man. You mustn't miss him. A girl should take the initiative when the time is right. After hanging up the phone, I sat on the sofa in a daze for a long time. It wasn't until Claire came in and his slender and strong arms wrapped around my waist that I was jolted awake. When I looked up, that handsome face that had once made me feel infatuated slowly magnified in front of my eyes. His beautifully shaped thin lips approached mine. As our breaths mingled, I caught a whiff of rich rose fragrance that didn't belong to him on the tip of my nose. I had smelled this fragrance on him for 3 consecutive days. Obviously, before going out in the morning, the fragrance on him was still the fresh scent of gardenias. I thought this way as I leaned back on the sofa. Claire leaned close to my ear, his voice hoarse with unbearable desire. Wasn't my kiss deep enough? What are you thinking about so intently? I didn't want to deal with him, so I closed my eyes and didn't say anything. When Claire wanted to go further, I stopped his hand that was moving downward. I'm on my period today. My menstrual cycle has always been very regular, but since Claire didn't care about me, naturally he wouldn't remember it. He frowned and clicked his tongue, then got up neatly. Soon, the sound of water came from the bathroom in the bedroom. I gathered up the torn collar of my clothes and let out a long sigh of relief. My eyes swept around, and they landed on his phone that he had left on the sofa. The screen suddenly lit up, and a message popped up. I picked up the phone. It was someone in his group chat with his brothers tagging him. If you want to break up, just say so. I quite like her type. My heart trembled suddenly. I listened carefully to the continuous sound of water in the bathroom. I opened his group chat. Claire, why have you suddenly changed? You've been with this girlfriend for 3 years. I guess he's planning to settle down and get married. Get married? I have no such intention. In my eyes, she's just something to pass the time. Even if you don't have that intention, you can't be sure that the girl doesn't. TSK. If she dares to mention marriage to me, I'll dump her immediately. The screen was filled with, ha ha ha. And then, there was the message that had just popped up. I blinked my eyes, and my originally annoying mood suddenly became joyful. I heard that every ex-girlfriend of Claire's received a huge breakup fee as compensation when they broke up. My mother was right. A girl should indeed take the initiative when the time is right. I think it's time for me to propose to Claire. The reason why I started a relationship with Claire was purely because I was too obsequious. 3 years ago, I partnered with my senior to open a game studio. Claire was one of the investors that my senior had brought in. In the early days of the business, both my senior and I were extremely obsequious in the face of the investors. Because I was too good at reading people's expressions, I was a bit more obsequious than my senior. Claire misunderstood that I was pursuing him. At a dinner party, as usual, I blocked the wine for Claire, who couldn't hold his liquor well, for the whole night. On the way to send my senior and me home, he suddenly said, "You've been chasing me for so long without getting a response. Are you tired?" I was dizzy from drinking and asked in a daze. What? It happened to be a red light. Claire turned his head to look at me, and an unconcealable arrogance was on that handsome face that made me infatuated. You don't need to be shy. There are many people who like me, and there are also many people who are pursuing me. I immediately realized that Claire had misunderstood and opened my mouth to explain. You miss. The next second, I was pinched on the soft flesh of my waist by my senior, who had fallen drunk on my shoulder. The pain instantly reminded me of the fact that Claire was our investor. So, I fell silent. When Claire parked the car in the underground garage of the community, he put his hands on the steering wheel, his black hair casually falling over his forehead. Under his sharp eyebrows were his dark eyes, and his delicate face looked unruly and casual. In the dark night, he chuckled and persuaded, "You should know that I've had many girlfriends, and you also know that there is someone I've always kept in my heart. I won't accept you, so give up." I didn't want to lose his investment, so I continued to remain silent. However, this silence made me transform from a humble party bee in an urban drama into a love-struck fool in a cheesy romance drama in an instant. My senior was right. Anyway, Claire had already rejected me. I was really taken in by her words and continued to flatter Claire in the usual humble manner of a party bee. But one day, Claire suddenly seemed to have lost his mind. He unilaterally announced that he agreed to my pursuit. My senior said again, "It's okay. His longest relationship record is 3 months, and all his ex-girlfriends received a large breakup fee after breaking up." Thinking of Claire's incredibly handsome face, his 8-pack abs and V-shaped waist, the huge breakup fee, and the continuous urging from my parents for me to go on blind dates, I admit that I was tempted. I half-heartedly agreed to my senior's bad idea. As a result, 3 years have passed. My mother has started to urge me to get married. Claire still hasn't dumped me, and there are no substantial acts of cheating on his part. Even the rumored white moonlight of his, who is far away in Germany, hasn't appeared yet. To be fair, in these 3 years, except for not loving me, Claire has done a good job fulfilling his duties as a boyfriend. He's passionate in bed and presentable out of bed. When my mother was sick and there were no available beds, he made a phone call and settled everything. When my father's company was on the verge of bankruptcy, he provided support and invested a sum of money. Everyone around me was speaking highly of him. They said that he was worthy of me chasing him for so long despite losing face. They all hoped that I could marry him, even though he couldn't handle the boundaries between men and women clearly and had huge flaws in his relationships. But they were going to be disappointed. After I propose, he will only dump me. Then the heartbroken me will cry bitterly while holding the huge breakup fee. After Claire fell asleep, I took out my phone and looked at Amazon. There were nearly 8 digits in my bank card, but I still couldn't bear to place an order for a $99 ring. While hesitating, his belittling words about me in the group chat with his brothers and the perfume scent of the strange woman on him flashed through my mind. I immediately closed Amazon and jumped to Temu. After carefully selecting a ring that cost 99 yuan, I finally fell asleep contentedly. I set the proposal date on Claire's birthday. I decorated a party in his seaside villa. To make this proposal more perfect, I privately informed each of his friends, "I sincerely invite you all to attend Claire's birthday party on Saturday and witness the fruition of our relationship by the way." Not long after the message was sent in the group, I received a series of question marks. I chose the one among his brothers who had the biggest mouth and replied, "Yes, I'm going to propose to Claire at the birthday party, cute. Remember to keep it a secret for me." As expected of someone with a big mouth, the night before the birthday, Claire looked at me with extremely complicated eyes. Throughout the night, he hovered around me, wanting to say something but holding back. I knew that he wanted me to ask him what was wrong and then casually bring up the topic of not considering marriage. But I couldn't do as he wished. I stood on tiptoe and kissed his face, acting coquettishly. "Honey, shall we?" Claire's body stiffened, and for the first time, he pushed me away, even though he had never refused such things before. "Weren't you saying that you were very tired recently?" I nodded and showed a disappointed expression on my face. "Okay, then I'll go to bed first." I lifted the quilt to cover myself and quickly closed my eyes. About 10 minutes later, there was a rustling sound in the room. I quietly opened my eyes, and Claire was bending over rummaging through things on my dressing table. In just a few minutes, he picked up his phone and left the room. I got up and went to the door. Claire was sitting in the living room talking on the phone. I couldn't find the ring at home. "Are you sure she's going to propose tomorrow?" I don't know what was said on the other end, but Claire visibly became irritated. "If she really dares to force me into marriage in public, I'll break up with her immediately and make her lose face in front of everyone." Hearing this, I went back to the bed and lay down comfortably. On Saturday, I opened the express delivery that the property manager had delivered to the door, took the ring, and drove to the villa. without flowers or gifts. I went to celebrate Claire's birthday with a sincere heart. That night, there were a lot of people at the party. All the people who knew the truth looked at me in a very strange way. Pity, contempt, and playfulness. They didn't hide their expressions of watching the show at all, and their gazes were firmly fixed on me. Claire was the same, except that there was a bit more hesitation and reluctance on his face. When the 8-layer cake was brought in, I lit the candles and smiled at him, saying, "Honey, happy birthday. Make a wish." Claire looked at me with a complicated expression and blew out the candles in one breath. He said meaningfully, "Spending this night peacefully is my biggest wish." What a pity. His wish was destined not to come true. The next second, I knelt down on one knee in front of him, looking affectionate. "Claire, I love you. Let's get married." There was an uproar at the scene. Out of the corner of my eye, those who knew the truth all showed expressions of, "I knew it." Claire, on the other hand, had a stiff expression and stood there motionless. No one at the scene cheered and said, "Say yes." Only a few sneers could be heard. I showed an appropriate look of embarrassment in a timely manner. I looked at Claire in a panic, hoping that he could help me out of the situation. Since Claire didn't care about me, naturally he wouldn't defend me. He was silent for a while, and then he smiled faintly. "Before I started dating you, I told you that I had someone I liked." "Right, I know. But you liked me later. Otherwise, why would you have been in a relationship with me for 3 years? I think it's time for us to get married." Although Claire had never said that he liked me, as expected, Claire denied it. "No, I didn't like you. I thought you knew that our relationship was just for fun." My face instantly turned pale, but my fingers could tremble. My teeth could bite my lower lip. My voice could choke with sobs. "Claire, what are you saying?" Claire shook off the hand holding the ring, and his voice was cold. "What I mean is that you crossed the line. I've never loved you, and it's over between us." The ring rolled to the ground with a clang sound. I raised my hand to wipe my eyes, and tears of embarrassment fell. I stared at Claire stubbornly, widening my eyes and begging him not to treat me like this. But Claire just turned his back to me indifferently. Amidst the jeers of the crowd, I couldn't bear it any longer and stumbled out of the villa. The chili peppers are so spicy. What should I do if I can't stop the tears? Also, how much is the breakup fee? After the protagonist of the proposal farce left crying, the people at the party started to discuss freely. To be honest, Claire's girlfriend is quite pretty and has a good figure too. Nonsense. If she weren't a stunner, how could Claire have been in a relationship with her for 3 years? TSK TSK TSK. It's a pity she's a bit unlucky. She proposed to Claire just when that person came back from abroad. That person is Claire's white moonlight in his heart. In order not to be misunderstood by his beloved, of course he has to cut off all ties with her completely. As they were chatting, someone who had just gotten off the plane and rushed to the party, and had been harboring ill intentions for years, called out to Claire, "I'm short of a partner recently. You don't mind if I go after your ex-girlfriend, do you?" Before Claire could answer, his friends beside him burst into laughter. "Douglas, are you serious? Otherwise, do you think what I said in the group chat was a joke?" Douglas looked at Claire's ugly face and smiled faintly. I don't think Claire would mind. After all, his true love came back 3 days ago. Following Douglas's gaze, Hilda appeared at the party, swaying gracefully in a passionate red dress. The scene was silent for a moment, and those who knew Claire's feelings all looked at him. Amidst the dazzling colored lights, she smiled brightly and walked towards Claire gracefully. "Claire, happy birthday." Claire smiled and said thank you, but there was no joy in his heart as he had imagined. It was clearly a breakup scene that he had deliberately staged for the girl he had been secretly in love with for a long time to see. But the image of Joanna running out crying kept flashing through his mind. When his gaze accidentally passed over his good brother, Douglas, Claire's eyes darkened for a moment, and an unknown feeling of irritation welled up in his heart. He couldn't help but think in his heart, what if Douglas really pursued Joanna? The next second, he firmly denied it. No, Joanna liked him so much. Besides, his breaking up with her was just a temporary expedient measure. Douglas beside him didn't know what Claire was thinking at the moment. He swirled the wine glass in his hand and smiled as he watched the beautiful couple in front of him from the corner. He thought to himself that it would be best if Claire and Hilda were together for a lifetime. This way, His 2 years of enduring jealousy and getting close to Claire wouldn't be in vain. Yes, ever since he saw Joanna again, he knew that he had to befriend Claire. He wanted to have Joanna. I went back to the house where I lived with Claire and started packing my luggage. I must put away this diamond necklace. I can't leave behind that limited edition handbag either. Sigh. And that Patek Philippe watch. Other stubborn and sunny heroines would definitely not take these things away. But I'm different. I'm a woman with a high sense of worthiness. Once given to me, they are mine. I won't let any of them go. After packing, I dragged the suitcase and walked outside. Then, I bumped into Claire, who was coming towards me. He stood in the entrance hall, with his hands in his pockets, staring at me intently. Wasn't he supposed to be still enjoying his party? I couldn't help but grip the handle of the suitcase tightly. Claire's eyes were dark as he questioned me. Where are you going? Is the company sending you on a business trip again? Is it necessary to take so much luggage for a business trip? He was calm and composed, as if nothing had happened. As if he wasn't the ex-boyfriend who had rejected my proposal and publicly announced that we were over just 2 hours ago. There was nothing to talk about. I dragged the suitcase and walked outside. When I passed by Claire, he suddenly grabbed the suitcase. I didn't know what he was going crazy about. I looked up, polite and courteous. What's the matter? Claire's breath caught in his throat, and his chest rose and fell. Suddenly, his tone softened. I'm sorry about tonight. But I didn't mean to break up with you. Don't be angry. Break up. But he didn't mean to break up. My expression almost lost control, and I blurted out instinctively. Are you not going to give me the breakup fee? Why did others get a breakup fee even when they were in a relationship for just 1 month? When it came to me, who had been in a relationship for 3 years, there was nothing. In an instant, Claire's expression turned ugly. His handsome face twisted, and he said in disbelief, were you with me just for the money? Our relationship at the beginning was due to a misunderstanding. But after being together for 3 years, I'm not a heartless person. Half a year ago, my parents implicitly and explicitly asked me to visit Claire's parents on the phone. At that time, I was having dinner with Claire in a restaurant. He didn't say anything after hearing that, only showing a playful smile. At that moment, I knew that Claire had never loved me. I won't love someone who doesn't love me. So I fell in love with his money. With red eyes, I smiled bitterly. Otherwise, will you marry me? As soon as the words were out, tears fell. I wiped my face fiercely and said in a calm tone, 3 days ago, there was a strange rose fragrance on you. Was it a new girl you met? Or the white moonlight in your heart? Or a new employee in your company? When the white moonlight was mentioned, Claire's eyelashes trembled. So it was really the white moonlight. I gave a bitter smile and dragged the suitcase outside. Breaking up is good. It makes room for your white moonlight. I'm sensible and leaving now. Remember to transfer the breakup fee to my card. Claire took a deep breath and blocked the door. Today's breakup was just an act for her to see. I didn't mean to let you go. Everything will be the same as before. I experienced Claire's shamelessness for the first time. I was so angry that I laughed and slapped him in the face. You broke up with me just to keep me as your mistress. In your dreams. With a slap mark on his face. Claire's face instantly turned livid. Don't be ungrateful. Once you leave, you can't turn back. When he said this, he was agitated and kicked my suitcase angrily. The suitcase wasn't fastened tightly. All the gifts he had given me spilled out on the floor. There happened to be a pair of clay figurines among them. We had these made in a small town during a trip last year, modeled after the two of us. In the brightly lit night market of the ancient town, I pulled the uncomfortable hymn and sat on an old-fashioned bench that had been there for years. The old man who made the clay figurines cheerfully praised us. The young man and the girl are so good-looking. You're a perfect match. Grandpa will make a pair of figurines for you to ensure your love lasts long. The old man had good craftsmanship, but his judgment was off. My relationship with Claire wouldn't last long. The clay figurines he made were also completely broken. The relationship that started with a mistake ended in ruins. Just like these little clay figurines, I should have let go long ago. I bent down and put the items other than the small clay figurines into the suitcase. After closing the suitcase, I looked up at Claire and said softly, I won't turn back. It's all over. With a bang, he slapped the door so loudly that it shook. Claire left without looking back. I let out a sigh of relief and squatted on the floor. Relaxed. After thinking for a while, I called my senior. Let me be the person in charge of the branch company in S City. Then you and Claire will have a long-distance relationship. The person in charge has to stay there for at least half a year. It's okay. We've already broken up. The night I arrived in S City, I received a text message about a deposit in my bank card. The breakup fee in the 8-figure amount was indeed an astronomical sum. I counted the number of zeros after the transfer and laughed for a long time. Before my mouth almost cramped from laughing. I started learning on the internet how to be a qualified ex. The most authoritative answer on Reddit was, regard yourself as a dead person and cut off all contact with your ex. I blocked Claire's phone number and deleted his Instagram. After thinking about it, I went to TikTok and unfollowed him. Just after I finished the operation, TikTok suddenly recommended a video to me. In a magnificent villa, under the dazzling lights, a handsome man was wearing a black high-end customized suit. He held a wine glass gracefully in one hand and casually put the other hand in his suit pocket. In the noisy environment, he exuded a low pressure of irritability all over. Even with a sullen face, every gesture of his revealed an alluring laziness and nobility. However, just when it was lively, the crowd surrounding him suddenly made way. A bright and generous girl in a red dress walked towards him in the center. She was smiling and chatting. I didn't know what she said. The originally irritable man showed a hint of a smile on his face. The video was posted by one of Claire's friends. I subconsciously glanced at the caption of the video. A perfect match made in heaven. Then I looked at the tags on the video. Through many hardships. Reunion after a long separation. Getting back together after a breakup. So this was Claire's white moonlight who had been far away in Germany. Presumably, the rose fragrance on him was also hers. I followed the crowd and liked the video like a passerby, and commented with a, congratulations. Then, I closed my phone in boredom. It was a momentary misunderstanding and a 3-year relationship. I was calmer than I had imagined, even not long ago. In the eyes of outsiders, Claire seemed to love me very much. Although he was cold, he would pick me up and drop me off at work. He didn't like traveling, but as long as I said I wanted to go, he would accompany me. He didn't like to have intimate acts in public, but when I was about to kiss him, he would take the lead and kiss me first. When we first got together, I really didn't have feelings for him. Girls are always easily moved by the company. After a year, when he treated me differently from others, I fell in love with him. I thought he would fall in love with me just as I had fallen in love with him. Unfortunately, he didn't. Fortunately, I love money more. Everything was just right. I closed my eyes and had a good dream. 7 days after Hilda returned to the country, she organized a friends gathering. Claire also went. Hilda was the white moonlight that Claire had longed for but couldn't have for a long time. When Hilda appeared, Claire would always be by her side. If she needed him, he would always be there. The only time he couldn't do that was not long ago. At his birthday party. That day, Claire dumped Joanna in front of Hilda. After Joanna left, Claire was absent-minded. He danced with Hilda in his arms. Although he was good at dancing, he was distracted and stepped on Hilda several times that night. Even after the dance ended, he made an excuse that there was something wrong with the company and left early. He drove on the familiar road. A friend called him. Could it be that you regret breaking up with Joanna? Claire denied it. No such thing. He loved Hilda, and Joanna was just something to pass the time. But 3 years was long enough for Joanna to leave an impression in his heart. Claire was a bit reluctant. He thought that Joanna had been with him for so long. He should treat Joanna better. For example, secretly keep her in his small house. As he was thinking, he returned to the house where they had lived together for almost 3 years. He wanted to share with Joanna the good news that they wouldn't be separated. But Joanna refused. She also asked him for the breakup fee. When Claire was in a daze, Hilda noticed. She reached out and held Claire's hand that was resting on his knee, and with a smile, she threw the topic they had just been chatting about to him. Claire, they all say that the houses over at City J are very livable. Is that why you often live there? Claire recalled the ordinary business district around that house, the greenery that didn't match the housing price, and the average property service. Compared with other better residences, he didn't like it that much. He often lived in City J just because Joanna liked it there. When Claire nodded casually, Hilda said meaningfully with a smile, I also want to move there. Do you have any recommendations? His friends started to tease. What recommendations? Just live together directly. Hilda looked at Claire shyly and didn't deny it. Let Hilda move into the house where he and Joanna had lived. Claire was a bit resistant. He smiled gently at Hilda and said, "Okay." He decided to ask his secretary to buy another flat in that community tomorrow. The gathering ended. Claire took Hilda back to the house in the city center. Hilda entangled with him in bed for a long time. After it was over, although Claire's body got what it wanted, he felt empty in his heart. He missed Joanna. He didn't know if she regretted breaking up with him. At 3 o'clock in the morning, Claire's longing for Joanna reached its peak. Regardless of Hilda, who was sleeping soundly in his arms, he turned over and got out of bed, leaving Hilda's cries behind. He drove away. On the empty road, there were only a few cars. He drove on the familiar road, thinking about what to say when he saw Joanna later. Coax her a few words and buy more gifts. Before he could figure it out, he had already returned there. After hesitating for a long time, he opened the door, and the empty atmosphere greeted him. Just a few steps in, Claire stepped on something under his feet. He looked down and saw the small broken clay figurine from that day. Claire suddenly felt a bit flustered. He entered the room and shouted Joanna's name loudly. There was no one in the room, and there was no response. The time in the house seemed to have stopped at the moment when he left after the quarrel with her. There was an indescribable dull pain in his heart. Joanna really wanted to break up with him this time. On the third day in S City, the video of my proposal being rejected was secretly recorded and uploaded to TikTok. It became popular out of the blue and received millions of likes. The comments were, as if they were being controlled, all scolding me. Netizens even gave me the nickname, the woman who pursues blindly. I wasn't sad. I was even a bit excited. Just as I was about to contact my senior, she, as if having a telepathic connection, called me, "Joanna, great fortune is coming. Our new game is just about to be launched, and you already have your own popularity." I've secretly had people spread the word that the game made by the woman who pursues blindly is about to be launched. Surely, many people who scold you for being all looks and no brains or who feel sorry for you being dumped will go to check it out. It seems that we can save a large sum of marketing expenses again. Ha ha ha. I barely suppressed the corners of my mouth that were about to curl up and reminded her indirectly. "Senior, I got this popularity by having my proposal rejected. I'm still sad. Can you have a little more sympathy?" My senior disdainfully, "Ched," and after a while, reluctantly said, "I'll transfer 1/3 of the saved marketing expenses to your card." I immediately became happy. "Thank you, senior." After chatting casually for a bit, my senior finally mentioned Claire. "Do you really not like Claire at all? He's handsome, has a good figure, and takes good care of people. Which woman wouldn't like him?" I let out a long sigh. "But he's tainted and doesn't deserve me anymore." My senior laughed heartily at once. "It's good that you can think like this. By the way, let the video ferment for a few more days. In a couple of days, the company will clarify the situation for you and also promote the launch of our game by the way." After hanging up the phone, I received a message from Douglas on Instagram. The video was spread by the playboys who were there at the time. "You want to clarify it?" I refused. "Don't touch it. Let it ferment for 2 days. I want to promote our newly launched game." 2 days later, my senior asked someone to reveal my position in the company and also let out the news that the company's game was about to be launched. The nosy netizens swarmed into the company's account. "Your company has taken in the woman who pursues blindly. Proposing marriage in public is just forcing someone into marriage, isn't it? When someone has no intention of getting married, making a public confession or proposal, whether it's a man or a woman, it's really disgusting. The woman who pursues blindly has caused such a big negative impact on your company. Are you sure you won't fire her? What game are you launching? Fire the woman who pursues blindly first." Being controversial is also a kind of popularity, and our company became completely famous. My senior thought the timing was right. One night, she asked someone to release the group chat of Claire's brothers at that time. Claire, who was proposed to, knew my plan from beginning to end. He didn't stop it and even gathered many people to watch my embarrassing appearance as the proposer up close. The public opinion reversed instantly. The netizens also dug out the information that Claire and I had an unequal status. Most people would sympathize with the weak. For a while, there were fewer people scolding me. At the same time, The company also reposted the video that Claire's friend had previously posted about his reunion after a long separation with Hilda. The scene in the video was the same as the scene when I proposed, and it was on the same day. The netizens who had been used as pawns turned their swords on Claire and Hilda one after another. They dug out the accounts of Claire and Hilda and cursed at them furiously. Scumbag and vicious woman frequently appeared in their comment sections. Claire and Hilda were completely socially dead on the internet and had to cancel their accounts. And the game that I, the victim, was in charge of was downloaded and tried out by the curious netizens. In this farce, I won beautifully from beginning to end. As for Hilda, she was ordered to go abroad to avoid the limelight. Claire was pushed down from the position of heir by his eldest brother. Who cares? The first 3 months in S-City were very busy. When I wasn't that busy anymore, I went to a quiet bar to relax. Doesn't the song Fiber sound great? I really love it. The person who struck up a conversation with me was a handsome guy in the bar. He had a fair and tender face and a bright smile. He wasn't my type. In the face of his flirting, I randomly made gestures at him. The handsome guy was stunned on the spot. Are you mute? After I nodded with a smile, the handsome guy left regretfully. I was happy to be leisurely and listened for a while longer. But soon, another person sat down. There was also a glass of gin tonic that I liked in front of me. When I pretended to be cute and was about to refuse with gestures, a lazy chuckle came from the booth. I looked up. It was Douglas. He was leaning against the bar in a white shirt, with 2 or 3 buttons of his collar undone, smiling like a playboy among the flowers. Have a drink if you're tired of gesturing. I fell silent. I picked up the glass of wine and took the initiative. Even though I've broken up with Claire, I don't plan to be with you either. Douglas clicked his tongue and opened his mouth to accuse me. What do you mean by be with you? That sounds unpleasant. What a hypocrite. When this bastard first saw me, the first thing he said was, "Do you want to be with me?" Now he thinks it sounds unpleasant. Douglas was a senior of mine from my undergraduate university. He was 1 year ahead of me, and he was really annoying. The first time we met was in the school swimming pool. At that time, as a non-swimmer, I learned to swim when there were fewer people during the final exams. Douglas was there too. I accidentally drowned, and he saved me to the shore. When I recovered, I was just about to thank him. He looked me up and down a few times and suddenly said, "Do you want to be with me?" When I was stunned, he patiently explained, "I'll give you money to be my girlfriend." At that time, I hadn't opened the studio with my senior yet, and I didn't love money. I cursed at him, "You're dreaming," and I scolded him every time I saw him. And this continued until he went abroad. Due to the difference in social classes, we no longer had any contact. A few years passed, and after I started dating Claire, Claire took me to a gathering of his friends. At the dinner table, I saw him again. He had a bad character and tried to poach me behind Claire's back. He has a white moonlight. Don't date him. Date me instead. In the narrow bathroom, the light fell on his face, which was still handsome even when he frowned. Time really changes people. Even an annoying guy like him learned to speak properly. But I don't like annoying people. I refused him again. No, I love him. After that, he didn't ask again. I also treated him as a stranger. When Claire said in the group chat that he would dump me if I mentioned marriage, Douglas abstractly asked Claire in the group chat if he could be informed in advance if we broke up. He was also afraid that I couldn't break up with Claire. He made a PPT about how Claire got involved with Hilda after she returned to the country and sent it to me. Now that I had come to S-City, he also chased after me. He only had 2 days off a week, and he would hang around me during those days. I raised my eyebrows and tilted my head to ask him, "Do you like me?" Douglas nodded. "What do you like about me?" Douglas's gaze moved from my face to my chest and then to my legs. I was stunned. So shallow. Douglas was silent for a while, as if he remembered something, and then he laughed with a puff. "Okay. And when you couldn't swim, the way you dog paddled was really attractive." When I wanted to scold him, he said again, "And you're very beautiful. And you have a fatal physiological attraction to me. The first time I saw you, I knew I wanted to die in your arms." I rubbed the goosebumps on my arms and summarized the main point. "Pervert. You want to sleep with me?" Douglas was silent, and then he nodded. The dim light in the quiet bar was especially captivating. Looking at his tall and straight figure, handsome face, and the elegance in every move of his. This time, I didn't scold him. I nodded and asked him, "Then do you want to be with me?" Douglas was taken aback. Then, his face turned red. He nodded, and then he asked reservedly, "Shall we start tonight?" I took him back to my house in S City. That night, I treated him like a dog. He happily accepted everything one by one. I wiped the sweat from his forehead and enjoyed his service. When we were exhausted, he held me in his arms. He said hoarsely and contentedly, "I'm sure I can't live without you." I didn't like Douglas that much, but he was really presentable, and his sense of service was better than Claire's. Although he still sometimes acted like a jerk, I'm magnanimous. I won't argue with him about it. A magnanimous woman always lets go of some insignificant things. For example, when Hilda added me on Instagram and announced her relationship with Claire in the moments, Douglas wasn't to be outdone. He pestered me to take a photo of us holding hands. He secretly posted it in the moments. Finally achieved what I've longed for after years. He even specifically tagged Claire in the comment section. When I saw it, I smiled. I wasn't angry. I just liked the way he schemed for me. Later, I reflected on whether I had fallen in love with him. At that time, the TV was playing Empresses in the Palace. I had an epiphany. I didn't love him. I just wanted to be the emperor. I enjoyed the way others tried every means to please me, especially Douglas's way. After staying in S City for a year, the branch company finally found a suitable person in charge. I was able to return to City A. On the day I returned to City A, Douglas was on a business trip and on his way back. I dragged my suitcase alone and took a taxi to the largest shopping mall in the city. Today was Douglas's mother's birthday. Since I had already met his parents, I should prepare a gift for her. When I had chosen a congratulatory gift in the store and went out, I met Claire around the corner. He stared at me in a daze, his eyes burning. Claire looked left and right. When he found that there was no one beside me, he let out a sigh of relief and said, "You can't match Douglas's family background. Did he dump you so soon?" I thought he was meddling in my business and gave him a disdainful look. "We've already broken up. Everything has nothing to do with you." I picked up the gift and walked quickly, but he grabbed my wrist. Claire's eyes were pitch black, and he looked as if he was doing it for my own good. "I just don't want you to be hurt by him." I found it ridiculous. The only person who had hurt me was clearly him. But after the breakup, he said he was afraid that the people around me would hurt me. So what? I sneered. "Joanna, let's get back together. Douglas doesn't plan to marry you either. Today is his mother's birthday. If he wanted to marry you, he would definitely take you to the family dinner. Obviously, he doesn't have this intention." Before Claire could finish his words, a deep male voice came towards us. "Claire, do you have any morals at all? You're poaching your brother's girlfriend in public." I looked up, and it was Douglas. He walked past Claire and came to my side. He picked up the gift box with one hand and put his other arm around my waist. Claire's eyes were gloomy, and he laughed out of anger. "Who's poaching whose girlfriend here?" Douglas said lazily. "You are." After saying that, he turned around with me in his arms and whispered to me, "Wife, there are a lot of dishes you like at the birthday banquet. Are you hungry? Let's go back quickly." I nodded and let him lead me forward. When we passed by Claire, Douglas looked extremely contemptuous. He mouthed the word, "Useless," silently at Claire, leaving Claire behind. He smiled and kissed my side face. He said meaningfully, "Wife, I'm not the kind of useless person who doesn't know how to love and can't even make his own decisions about his marriage." I couldn't stand his complacency, so I brought up his old words again. "Do you want to be with me?" Douglas's face froze completely. He. My memory is really good. In the second year that Douglas was with me, I turned 30. My mother called me early one morning. "Joanna, when are you and Douglas planning to get married?" "Douglas has no intention of proposing to me at the moment." I replied to my mother just like I did 2 years ago. My mother choked for a moment and asked tentatively, "If that's the case, why don't you find another boyfriend?" "Mom, can't I just not get married?" I argued with my mother for half an hour. And finally, I hung up the phone helplessly. Douglas hugged me pitifully. "Mom wronged me. I did propose marriage." I nodded and perfunctorily stroked his head. Douglas wouldn't let it go. He kissed my fingertips, moved up all the way, and buried his head in my neck. He looked at me, kissed me, and rubbed against me desperately. Finally, when I couldn't stand it anymore, He dropped his pitiful act and used despicable means to force me. Will you marry me? Joanna. Why aren't you talking? After a long time, I leaned back with my eyes closed against his chest. I nodded slightly and said, okay, I'm not resistant to getting married, especially to a man like Douglas who is talented, good-looking, and wealthy. A good marriage is an enhancement for a woman. Marrying Douglas, even if we can't stay together until the end, I can ensure that I will gain more than I lose from it. There is no such thing as the right choice in the world. What I have to do is to strive hard to make the choice I made right.